Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly radio show called Encouragement for Your Life. Many of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach, and I help people find their voice and learn to use it. I'm also a conference speaker on the topics of public speaking, how to deal with the media, and crisis communication. If you're part of an organization that has an annual conference and you need a keynote speaker, I would love to be a part. You can find me at debsofield.com. Many of you know I've got a number of books on the market. My book series, Encouragement for Your Life, Tough Love Memos to help you fight your battles and change the world, are available on Amazon. These are a great gift for the holidays and certainly for young people and for those who might be a little more mature that enjoy reading positive, uplifting messages. I've got one of my best-selling books, Speak Without Fear, and my newest book, Perfecting Your Platform. All of those are on Amazon as well. All you have to do is go to Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, and all my books will appear. I gotta say, I've got a great show today, and I've called it The Blessing of Rest. But don't go to sleep on me. Stay with me for these next few minutes, and we'll get started with today's show. And thanks for joining me. A while back, I came across a quote that I really like, and I don't know who it's by, but the headline is this: "Our days are happier when we give people a bit of our heart rather than a piece of our mind." I like that one. I got to tell you, recently I was in a grocery store and I overheard a heated argument in which one of the players was verbally harsh to the other and gave them what we would call a standing down, told them off, gave them a piece of their mind. I got to tell you, it was so sad to see the immediate crush of the other person's spirit. It was shocking and honestly a bit unsettling, and frankly, very heartbreaking all at the same time. You know, I'm not around people who yell. I didn't grow up with anyone who yelled in our family. It just wasn't allowed. And when I witness the outburst of anger that is carried by one's raising of their voice, I have to say it rattles my insides, it upsets my psyche, and it makes me a bit jittery. And I had nothing to do with the fight. It's just how I physically respond. I admit I don't like yelling. Now, granted, I yell, but I don't yell at people. I yell at cars and maybe a squirrel to get out of the road. And I don't like to be around people who think it's acceptable to yell. And I'm sorry to say that I've been witnessed more than my fair share of watching people come unglued. So when I see this kind of behavior, I'm reminded of the old saying that I saw on this quote for today, which is this: "Our days are happier when we give people a bit of our heart rather than a piece of our mind." So I came across this interesting, I'm going to call it a parable about yelling, and it goes like this. One day, an elder put this question to his friends. He asked, "Why do people yell when they argue?" One of them said, "Well, we're yelling because we're losing our temper." The elder said, "But why scream when the other person is right next to you?" Another one answered, "We yell to make sure that we hear each other." The elder said again, "Couldn't we talk more slowly with a more quiet voice?" Then everyone was silent. The elder answered his question this way: "Do you know why we yell at each other when we're angry? The truth is that when two people argue, their hearts distance greatly. So to cover the distance, they have to shout to be able to hear each other. The angrier, the bigger the distance. They need to speak much louder. On the other hand, what happens when two people are in love? They don't scream at all. They speak slowly and gently. Why? Because their hearts are very close. The distance between them is very small. Sometimes their hearts are so close that they don't even have to speak. Maybe just whisper. And when love is even more intense, there's no need to even whisper. It only takes a look, and their hearts know. This is what happens when two people are in love with each other. Their hearts are close. That look of love is part of the story that I like. The idea that you can simply look at somebody and they know without a shadow of a doubt that they are loved and accepted for who they are. Listener, do you remember those days? Yeah, I know. It was a long, long time ago, before the kids, the house, the business, the loss, the joy, the pain. Yep, the good old days. Have to admit I like that parable because it's true. And it fits in well with my theme for today, which is our days are happier when we give people a bit of our heart rather than a piece of our mind. In fact, not only will your days be happier, but the hardships of life will also be a lot easier to deal with if you can get this truth right. And if hard decisions need to be made this upcoming, I'm just going to say holiday season, for you and your family, for your marriage, your future, could I ask you to consider this one option? It's just a request on my part, your friend Deb on the radio. Would you consider giving just a small piece of your heart to spare some small piece of the other's heart to lessen the blow of emptiness that will be coming? Today's message isn't really keeping with the happy season per se, but I've got to say, friends, I have heard about more heartbreak this past week than I've heard in months. And I'm saddened by what has happened to good, kind people that are dealing with the pain of the loss of a marriage, and others who are in this season experience the loss of their children, not only by death, but also by their anger. These kids have abandoned their parents. I don't know what it is about this time of year that brings the greatest stress to people. Now, without a doubt, Hollywood and Madison Avenue have added to the cost of the season. And financially, it's hard in these hard economic times. The dealing with family, the ones you see a few times a year, listen, it's uncomfortable because you're seeing the aging of parents and perhaps the needs of their living situation. You know, kids are on display when frankly all they want to do is come home from college or high school and sleep and see their friends, not your friends. And the TV version of a happy home looks nothing like where you live. It's hard, no doubt about it. And then you add to that the reality of life and questionable judgment that led to a poor decision. And it just spirals out of control until you land on your back looking up. So now you have to choose to get up or get out. I started out by telling you that I witnessed the most horrific exchange between two people who, I suppose at one time, promised to honor and cherish each other. But now, due to the length of time or lack of love or broken promises, I'm just going to say it, they are hate-filled, ugly shell of the people they used to be. Unrecognizable to all who see them, who at one time loved them, and now are completely blown away by who they've become. As I pushed my shopping cart away and I went down another aisle, I began to wonder what would have happened. Instead of showing out, they had quietly agreed to disagree, or perhaps even end the relationship without spewing the verbal hate that no one should have to listen to day after day, month after month, or year after year, or frankly, a lifetime. I've got to think the most hurtful words in the English language are, I don't love you. I can't imagine how that must feel, as those words are coming out of the mouth of the one who at one time you couldn't wait to kiss, the mouth that promised in sickness and in health, the mouth that rang with excitement and joy at the birth of your child. And today that person seems to speak a different language, words you've never heard them say to anyone, much less you. And they're coming forth like a torrent, and you're washed over by the sheer volume of words that for years were unspoken and you never expected to be said. And I'm pretty sure you pray you never hear them again. Please hear me. If this conversation is going to take place, let me ask you to rethink the impending damage. I'm going to assume that all involved know that their hearts are very distant, so there's no need to shout to be able to hear each other. In fact, if your anger is going to cause you to speak a different language than the one your spouse or family or parents are used to hearing you speak, please rethink your outcome, because the damage that it will cause will most likely never be healed or forgotten. And when the kids are scarred at a young age, friends, you have done a lifetime of damage. And no kid deserves that, least of all from their parents. And I'll add that no parents deserve to be treated with disrespect and hurtful words by their children. Come on, they brought you into their world, or they chose you to be their child. And you know kids don't come with a how-to manual. For most parents, they did the best they could with what they had and who they were. So back it down, people, before you break their fragile, aging hearts. Because when parents are deeply hurt, they carry that with them to their last days. And no parent deserves that, least of all from their kids. Ladies and gentlemen, if the end is going to be what it's going to be, then for goodness sake, be gentle. You can break a heart without crushing a spirit. For most people, the heart can heal over time, mostly. A crushed spirit? Wow, not so much. So if you're going to make life-changing decisions this year, for goodness sake, show a bit of respect. Find within your hardened heart some measure of kindness and be very careful with your words. Our friends in good times and bad, I think the world, your world, my world, the world in general would be a little happier, a little more sane, a little more lovely, if we gave people a bit of our heart rather than a piece of our mind. I know, tough love message today, but I got to tell you, what I saw happen in the fresh market, I never want to see happen again. By the way, that was the grocery store. So if you happen to be listening, person who yelled, please know nobody's impressed. And in fact, you really broke hearts more than the person you yelled at. Okay, with that, I'm Deb Sofield. You're listening to Encouragement for Your Life, believe it or not. But stay tuned because I have some great ways to help you get through the hard times. Hi, I'm Deb Sofield. If you've ever needed help crafting a presentation for your job or your company, I can help. In today's world, you know how important it is to be able to speak and present well. I'm a national speaker and an executive speech and corporate presentations coach. I can help you craft your message for your success. I'd like to be on your team. I'd like to be your coach. Contact me through my website, debsofield.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I came across a great quote, and it's this: experience is the toughest teacher because she gives the test first and then the lesson. I came across an interesting article in a website called Stronger, Braver, Fighter, Wiser. And the headline is 7 Steps to Getting Back Up When Life Knocks You Down. Now, please know I have edited this greatly, but there was a lot of good information here that I thought I should share with you. So we'll go ahead and begin. Let's see how we do time-wise before I get to the end of the show. So the headline is this: one thing that's just as certain as death and taxes is sometimes, life will deal you disappointments. Oftentimes, it might be a little love tap, like missing out on a job you had your heart set on, for instance. Other times, it can be a crushing, devastating blow that's just straight out knocks you down, like a relationship falling apart or the loss of a loved one, for example. One that you have been questioning whether or not you can actually go on. Either way, when you find yourself, put yourself down, take a seat, and listen. Friends, you've got choices to make. You can either stay down, wallow in self-pity and sadness, and get comfortable with playing the role of a failure or victim for the rest of your days. Or you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and come out swinging. Actually, there's a third option, and that's one most people take, but I'll get to that at the end of this article. The fact is, nothing that life throws at you is ever something that you can't come back from. Hear me, there is nothing that you can't pick up and move on from. Helen Keller said, keep your face to the sun and you will never see the shadows. So, according to the article, here are some steps for getting back up once you have been knocked out by life. You can use one of these or all of them. It's up to you. Gloria, the author of the article, says, Rule 1, get it out of your system. As human beings, it's natural for you and I to experience emotional responses to disappointments, failures, losses, or any other setback in life. And it's important that we allow ourselves to do so fully. This is what the grieving process is all about when you lose a loved one or experience any sort of an emotional loss. Allowing these negative emotions to go unexpressed by holding them in is toxic, both emotionally and physically. They can actually lead to character flaws, chronic bitterness, or hopelessness, and in the long term, for some, even physical illness. In a boxing match, when a fighter is knocked down, he is forced to face a mandatory 8 count. 8 seconds to collect himself, shake it off, and continue fighting. So friends, when life knocks you down, you need to do the same thing. Take some time out to let the emotional response, or the shock, if you like, out of your system. Now, different people handle this in different ways. Maybe you need to have a deep and meaningful talk with someone. Maybe you just need to feel sorry for yourself for a little while. Or maybe you just need to be alone and cry your eyes out for a little while. Whatever works for you, just make sure you let it out. And there's no set period for how long it should take. Again, everybody's different. We all deal with things in our own way and in our own time. Friend, don't fall into the trap of thinking that to be strong when life knocks you down allows you to pop right back up and carry on if nothing ever happened, without even so much as a frown or a tear. There's some problems with this attitude. First of all, if you hold all those negative emotions inside, and over time, we kind of see that they will poison you. Next, if you learn nothing from the experience, you don't grow. Now, you may think you've learned a valuable lesson by vowing to never let that happen again. But really, what you've done is you've built a protective barrier. You've hardened your defenses out of fear and made yourself more cynical, a more bitter person. And that's going to hold you back from other opportunities and potentially amazing life experiences. Listen, there's nothing wrong with taking time to shake off a bad experience in your life, or even having a good cry. It doesn't make you weak. But what matters is that you get up and carry on. The next article says, stay off the merry-go-round of negativity. One of the pitfalls you may encounter while taking time out to get it out of your system is that you start to feel comfortable in feeling sorry for yourself or wallowing in your own misery. Listen, it's natural to feel hurt, anger, sadness, loneliness, and so on when something bad happens to you. But the fact is, you have the power to increase and prolong those emotions by the way you think about it. So friends, you got to be careful. Think about the last time something or someone hurt you. There was initial reaction, which was pretty much spontaneous. And then you might have dwelled on it, gone over and over and over in your head. And each time you did, you would find that your anger grew and grew and grew. So letting your anger out is fine as long as you don't hurt anyone, but being angry and staying angry at the world, well, that isn't. Stopping yourself from recycling negativity is your best way out. While your heart is purging itself of pain, do your best to prevent your head from adding to it by focusing on the wrong thing. I know it's hard, but sometimes you have to concentrate on positive, optimistic thoughts, not on the fact that you think you're a victim, and woe is you. Robert Schuller, the preacher, said, it takes but one positive thought when given a chance to survive and thrive to overpower an entire army of negative thoughts. The next point is, remember that it really is all about you. You know, one particular pet peeve I have is when I hear people say that someone did something bad to them. Even if it's true. For example, he dumped me, they fired me, she cheated on me, he stole from me. Whenever I hear these expressions, it kind of makes me cringe because I feel like in doing so, people have labeled themselves as victims of the other person. Now, it may seem trivial, but the fact is words have a lot of power. And the words you use in your sentences both reflect and influence your thoughts. And your thoughts influence your attitude and belief, and they are part of what makes you who you are. Please hear me. You are not anyone's victim. I'm going to say it again. You are not anyone's victim. You're simply someone who experienced a down in life moment. And now you're in the process of managing the situation, getting over it, moving on, stronger and wiser because of it. See, you're not beneath anyone. You don't hold a grudge against anyone. You're not unworthy of anyone because nobody has the power over you. Friend, you're not a victim. And feeling like a victim takes away your power to grow stronger and better because you made it about you and your life, not about the other person who is most likely damaged. There's another reason why this is important. If someone else is responsible for the blow you just suffered in life, it's natural that you're going to think about what they did and why they did it, and that's fine. But think about it and learn from it and stop dwelling on it forever. That's not going to change anything. So whether you were dumped, fired, cheated on, or whatever, friend, think about maybe how you get through it, maybe do it different next time, or do it better. It's important that you learn and you grow, take a little ownership in case you were part of the problem. But hold on. This is not about you. This is about you growing and getting better in your life and leaving the person who caused you such harm. The next point is you get by with a little help from your friends. Have you ever noticed when you're experiencing relationship troubles or maybe a breakup, your friends and family seem to possess a surprisingly high degree of wisdom with the advice that they give you? That's because they're not emotionally invested in the situation like you are, which means they can see things far more clearly and logically than you. This is one of the reasons why they say it's important to emotionally rest first and foremost after being knocked down by life before trying to rationalize it in your mind and what happened to you. In your emotional state, your judgment might be impaired, so talking to someone you trust and can confide in about a crisis in your life, that usually helps in a big way. Whether it's to get advice on what to do next from a second perspective or to simply hear words of consolation from a friend. Sharing your pain makes it much more tolerable. Helen Keller said, "Walking with a friend in the dark is better than walking alone in the light." You don't have to face life's challenges alone, and you're not a burden on others by asking for their support. As a matter of fact, you'll find that when you do share these trying moments in your life to someone who's close to you, someone who loves you, someone who cares that you will be your very best, that'll strengthen your bond. And think about this. Down the road, you might be the listening ear that they need to have. The next point is get the most value out of the situation that you can. The fact is, no one enjoys being knocked down by life because it hurts. But it can also be, in a weird sort of way, a rewarding experience in the grand scheme of things. If you're one of these people that believes everything in life happens for a reason, that's fine. But the fact is, every negative situation in your life, no matter how painful or devastating, there's probably a positive side if you can just see it. When you look at a bad situation from that perspective, it's not hard to see why some people believe it was meant to be. The fact is, when you bounce back from failure in life and overcome the challenges and crisis, it builds your character and makes you a better person. So, if you've been knocked down, regardless of how bad you're hurting at the time, bear in mind that what you're experiencing is simply a natural part of life. And if you treat it the right way, it will make you a better, stronger person. And believe it or not, that should give you hope. Because when life knocks you down, you have a choice to make. You can stay down, feel sorry for yourself, and let the failure or the setback define you in your life, or you can get back up, learn and grow, and fight for another day. Now, I told you in the beginning that there is a third option. And friend, that is for some, you're just going to weather the storm. You're going to get through it and carry on, acting like nothing has happened. And that, in many cases, is unfortunate. Listen, tough experiences build character to an extent. But if you don't learn and become wiser as a result, you've wasted this opportunity. You've already paid the price. You might as well get the most out of it. So once you're over the emotional shock of being knocked down, friend, as soon as you're able, sit down and think deeply about what happened. Maybe write down the lessons that you learned from that experience. Do it while you can, while things are fresh in your mind. And don't worry about other people's role. Let's focus on you and how you can become better, wiser, stronger, and more powerful for next time. Remember, every negative experience is somewhat of a teaching moment. It's up to you to make yourself a receptive student and get the best possible lesson out of it. John Maxwell is known for saying, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. Let me skip ahead in this article and end with this thought. Friend, you should never look at yourself as an unfortunate victim or someone who was wronged. Rather, let's turn it around and think of ourselves as someone who was tested by life, who rose to and met the challenge like a warrior. Some of you need to be proud of your battle scars and wear them as a badge of honor. And the next time life decides to put you to the test, you will be all the more confident in your strength and the fortitude to take it on. Because remember, without any downs, there can be no ups. It's natural to wish for nothing but success and good times in your life and work to making that a reality. but sometimes life has other ideas. Nobody likes experiencing life's lows, and I'm not suggesting that you need to, but friend, you should accept them as the natural and necessary part of life and embrace them as such. Remember that even sunny days can become tedious and mundane if that's all you ever have. They lose their meaning and value. You and I need the occasional rainy day to really appreciate them for what they're worth. So next time life knocks you down, remember what you're experiencing is part of what creates your future happy days. It's part of what makes your life worth living. Because friend, the storm will end, you'll get through it, and you will emerge onto a brighter, more uplifting life. I'm Deb Sofield. This is Encouragement for Your Life. Thanks for joining me. Please join me next week, same time, same place.